Saturday afternoon. Juliet sat on the couch typing on her laptop when her 9-year-old son, Adam, ran toward her holding a pink toy. "Mom, look what Grandma and Grandpa sent me," he said with excitement. Juliet smiled lightly without looking up. "That's cool, buddy." But Adam squeezed the toy again and frowned. "Mom, why is there a red light inside?" Juliet slowly lifted her head, her fingers freezing above the keyboard. "What light?" Adam pointed at the tiny plastic eye. A small red blink pulsed inside. Juliet stood carefully. "Let me see that for a second, sweetheart." Adam placed the toy in her hand, trusting her completely. Juliet brought it under the lamp and tilted it slowly. There, inside the hollow head, a faint red dot flickered like it was alive. Not a normal battery light. Not a feature of a children's toy. Something else. "When did this arrive?" she asked. "This morning. Grandma said happy early birthday," Adam replied. His birthday was still a week away. Juliet forced a soft smile. "Okay, bud. I need to check something on this. Go play for now." Adam nodded and returned to his Legos, unaware of her growing fear. Juliet walked quietly into the garage, closed the door, and let the silence settle. She didn't shout. She didn't panic. She simply stared at the blinking red light glowing inside the toy. With slow, steady hands, she picked up her smallest screwdriver and opened the seam along its back. Instead of soft filling, she found a camera module, a miniature lens, a circuit board, a microphone, and a rechargeable battery. Juliet photographed everything from multiple angles. Her heart raced, but her hands did not shake. She understood this technology, and she knew it wasn't innocent. A quick online search confirmed her suspicion. C400 wireless spy camera. Wi-Fi enabled. Cellular backup. Cloud storage. $119 retail. Juliet checked the activation timestamp. Active since 9:47 a.m. 5 hours before Adam even noticed the light. They had been watching the moment he opened the box. Carefully, she reassembled the toy, placed it inside a plastic evidence bag, and labeled it neatly. She didn't let emotions guide her. Evidence mattered more. Juliet sat on the garage stool, staring at the bag, wondering when her parents had crossed the line from concerned to dangerous. Her parents, Frank and Susan, had once been loving, supportive figures, until everything changed after Juliet's grandfather passed away 2 years earlier. He left a trust fund for Adam, $180,000, naming Juliet as the trustee. No withdrawals until Adam turned 18. Her grandfather never trusted Frank with money. Frank had declared bankruptcy years ago after reckless investments. Susan had slipped into heavy online gambling. When Juliet refused to borrow from Adam's fund, tensions grew quickly. The pressure increased. The calls became demands. Now, Juliet realized, they had moved to spying on her son. Juliet checked the shipping label next. The box had arrived that morning, but the shipping date showed something different. It had been sent 3 weeks earlier. Her breath caught. 3 weeks of watching her son whenever he held the toy. 3 weeks of spying inside her home without her knowing. Juliet sealed the evidence bag tightly and placed it in a drawer she kept locked. She leaned against the counter, feeling the weight settle on her chest. Her parents weren't acting out of worry. They were building something. And she needed to know how far they had already gone. Juliet's divorce from Emma had happened 18 months earlier. Emma was 28, working as a clothing store supervisor, and supposed to have Adam 30% of the time. Reality was closer to 20%. Emma forgot weekends, mixed up schedules, and always seemed distracted. Juliet never attacked her for it. She simply adjusted. But now, she wondered if her parents had spoken to Emma recently. Juliet's real problem wasn't her ex. It was the people who had raised her. People who were now turning into strangers she didn't recognize. People she could no longer trust. That night, Juliet tucked Adam into bed, read him 2 stories and kissed his forehead. When he fell asleep, she began searching the house. She checked his bookshelves under his bed, behind picture frames, inside smoke detectors, even the toys he rarely touched. Nothing. But Juliet knew people who made plans like this rarely relied on only one device. She moved through the living room, then the kitchen, then the bathroom. Each room felt heavier, each shadow suspicious. By the time she finished, it was past 10. She tried to breathe normally, but her instincts kept whispering, not enough. The next morning, Juliet drove Adam to school, hugged him tight, and watched him run inside with his backpack bouncing. Her phone rang as she walked back to her car. Dad calling. She hesitated, then answered with a calm voice. "Hi, Dad." Frank sounded cheerful. "Hey, sweetheart. How are you?" Juliet kept her tone steady. "Busy weekend." He paused. "Did Adam get our package?" Juliet swallowed quietly. "Yeah, he loved it." Another pause, sharper this time. "That's good. He's been carrying it around, right?" Juliet forced a small laugh. "Everywhere he goes." Frank exhaled, relieved. Frank pushed again. "Maybe we can visit this week. We want to see him." Juliet kept her voice light. "I'll check my schedule." His tone shifted. "You've been saying that for months. We're family." Juliet stared at the street in front of her, gripping the phone tighter. "I know. Work has been crazy." Frank sighed, frustrated. "All right. Talk soon." The call ended. Juliet sat in silence, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. They were fishing, waiting to see if she knew. She didn't give them anything. She wouldn't. This wasn't the moment for confrontation. It was the moment for strategy. Monday morning, Juliet dropped Adam at school and drove straight to the police station. She carried the evidence bag, printed photos, and the shipping receipt with her father's name on it. She asked to speak with someone in cybercrimes. Detective Harper, a calm woman in her 50s, invited her into an office. Juliet placed the toy on the desk. "My parents sent this. There's a hidden camera inside." The detective studied it with serious eyes. "You did the right thing not tampering with it," she said. Juliet nodded. "What happens now?" The detective promised a full forensic investigation. Detective Harper explained the process carefully. The device would be taken apart in the lab, footage extracted, cloud connections traced, and the purchase account identified. "If there's footage of your son," the detective said, "this becomes a felony." Juliet felt her hands tighten in her lap. "What should I do?" Harper's voice was steady. "Do not contact your parents. Don't tell them you know. Let us build the case." Juliet nodded slowly. "They called yesterday asking if Adam liked the toy," she admitted. The detective raised an eyebrow. "And what did you say?" Juliet whispered. "I said he loved it." Leaving the station, Juliet called her attorney, Michael Adams, the same lawyer who handled her divorce. "I need to see you today," she said. He heard the fear in her voice and replied immediately. "Come at 11. 2 hours later, she sat across from him in his glass-walled office, explaining how her parents had spent 3 weeks spying on her child. Michael listened silently, tapping his pen. When she finished, he leaned back. "They're preparing for custody," he said quietly. Juliet closed her eyes. She had known deep down. The camera wasn't curiosity. It was ammunition for a planned attack. Michael pulled up custody statutes. "Grandparents can file for custody only if a child is at risk," he explained. "They need proof the parent is unfit." The camera was step 1, gathering evidence. Juliet stared out the window at the city below. "What's step 2? Michael folded his hands. "Legal action. And if they succeed, they can petition the court to control the trust fund." Juliet's jaw tightened. "They want the money." Michael nodded. "Exactly. That trust fund is the motive." Juliet breathed slowly. She wasn't angry. She was focused. "So what do we do?" she asked softly. "I can file for an emergency restraining order," Michael said. "But if we act first, they'll know we know. They'll destroy evidence." Juliet shook her head. "Not yet. Let them move first. Let them commit." Michael studied her carefully. "You're sure?" Juliet nodded once. I want their entire plan exposed, not halfway. When they strike, we strike harder. Michael sighed. All right. But I'll monitor the court filings daily. He hesitated. Juliet. They might try to use Emma. Juliet's stomach twisted. My ex. Michael nodded. She's the weak link. They might pressure her into helping them. 2 days later, Juliet was at work when her phone buzzed. Mom calling. She stepped outside to the parking lot before answering. Hi, Mom. Susan's voice came sweet and soft, the voice she used when she wanted something. Hi, honey. You sound tired. Are you okay? Juliet kept her tone calm. Just work. Susan continued. We're all worried about you. Even Emma said you've been different lately. Juliet froze. You talked to Emma. Susan hesitated. Well, she called us last week. Juliet knew it was a lie. Her pulse quickened. The trap was tightening. Susan continued gently. Honey, maybe you need help. There's no shame in that. Juliet swallowed. I'm fine. Susan pushed harder. Maybe Adam could stay with us for a little while. Just to give you a break. There it was. The real reason for the sudden concern. Juliet's voice stayed even. Adam doesn't need to stay with you. Susan's tone shifted sharply. The sweetness vanished. Juliet, we're trying to help. Juliet stared at the pavement beneath her feet. I don't need help. Susan breathed heavily into the phone, frustrated. We'll see. Then she hung up. Juliet stood in the parking lot gripping the phone so tightly her knuckles whitened. She texted her lawyer immediately. They contacted my ex. They just asked to take Adam for a break. Michael replied within minutes. Checking court system now. An hour later he called. Juliet, they filed this morning. Emergency petition for grandparent custody. Hearing is Friday at 9. Juliet felt her chest tighten. What are they claiming? Michael read the list. Emotional instability, financial irresponsibility, isolating Adam, poor parenting. They filed an affidavit from Emma, he added softly. Juliet felt the air leave her lungs. When did she sign it? Juliet whispered. Michael answered. 2 weeks ago. Juliet stared at the phone, replaying Emma's recent texts. Friendly, normal, unaware. Michael continued. She was tricked. Your parents probably told her it was paperwork to get you counseling, not custody. Juliet rubbed her forehead. Can we fight this? Michael's voice grew firm. Yes, completely. You have strong documentation. Juliet nodded slowly. I keep records of everything. Michael added. The camera evidence, that's our strongest weapon. We save it for Friday. They won't see it coming. That evening, Juliet picked Adam up from school. He talked non-stop about a science project and a game his friend invented. Juliet tried to listen, but her mind spun with the upcoming hearing. When they reached home, Adam dropped his backpack by the door and ran to play. Juliet stared at the bag, remembering Michael's warning. Check for more devices. She knelt, opened each pocket, and felt along the seams. In the side pouch, her fingers brushed something hard. Small GPS tracker. Quietly blinking. Juliet's breath caught. She photographed it, bagged it, and locked it away. Another piece of evidence. The next morning, Juliet called Emma before she left for work. Emma answered groggily. Hello. Juliet didn't waste time. Why did you sign an affidavit saying I'm unfit? There was a long pause, then Emma gasped. What? Juliet, I didn't. Juliet closed her eyes. It's dated 2 weeks ago. Your signature is on it. Emma's voice trembled. They told me it was paperwork to get you counseling. Susan was crying, saying you wouldn't answer calls. I thought I was helping. Juliet's heart tightened. You need to call Michael. Withdraw it. Emma whispered. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. That afternoon, Detective Harper called. Juliet, forensics finished early. Juliet held her breath. What did you find? The detective replied. The camera stored 67 hours of footage. It uploaded to a cloud account linked to your father's email. Juliet felt a cold wave wash over her. What's on the footage? Harper answered. Your son's bedroom, hallway, living room. Nothing harmful. Just normal parenting. Which tells me they were searching for something. Juliet nodded silently. And the GPS tracker. Harper said. 3 weeks of location data. Nothing unusual. We're recommending charges to the district attorney. That evening, Juliet remembered a small dinner her parents had insisted on earlier in the week. She had agreed, thinking they wanted peace. When they arrived, Susan hugged her stiffly and Frank asked, "Where's Adam?" Juliet lied. "Sleepover at a friend's house." Susan's face flickered with disappointment. They ate quietly until Susan spoke. "Juliet, you've been stressed." "We're worried," Juliet replied. "I'm managing." Frank leaned forward. "Adam needs stability. And that trust fund could help him now." Juliet's spine stiffened. "It's for when he's older." Frank's tone hardened. "We're not asking." Juliet listened carefully, recording everything. Later that night, Juliet replayed the audio on her phone. Susan's voice was clear. "If Adam stayed with us more, we could manage the trust properly." Frank added, "You're one person, Juliet." Every word revealed their intent. She labeled the recording, added it to her evidence folder, and sat at the kitchen table organizing documents. Police report. Forensic analysis. Photos of devices. Trust fund paperwork. Adam's school records. Medical reports. References from teachers and neighbors. Michael texted her. "This is overkill but impressive." Juliet replied, "I'm not here to win lightly. I'm here to end it." Thursday night, Juliet barely slept. Not from fear but from readiness. She had evidence proving her parents spied on Adam for weeks. She had proof they tracked his movements, manipulated Emma, and planned to seize control of the trust fund. They believed she would fold, beg, compromise. They didn't understand her. Juliet had spent years learning to stay calm under pressure. Now she was done avoiding conflict. She would walk into court prepared, steady, and unshaken. Tomorrow morning, her parents would realize the daughter they underestimated was not the daughter they were fighting anymore. Friday morning, Juliet arrived at the courthouse with Michael. Her evidence folder rested under her arm. Her parents' car was already parked. Frank and Susan stood with their lawyer, Mr. Graham, a polished man in his 50s. Emma stood nearby, tense and ashamed. Susan spotted Juliet and forced a warm smile that no longer worked. Frank kept his jaw clenched. Mr. Graham walked over to Michael. "Let's not make this adversarial," he said. "Shared custody would solve everything." Michael stayed calm. "The judge will decide." Juliet kept her expression unreadable, though inside she was already 3 steps ahead. Inside the courtroom, Judge Helen Ward took her seat. Known for fairness and zero tolerance for manipulation, she scanned the room with sharp eyes. Mr. Graham presented the petition. "Your Honor, Frank and Susan Miller request emergency custody of their grandson, Adam. They believe he is at risk due to Juliet's unstable behavior." He listed accusations: emotional distance, financial strain, isolation from family. He offered no evidence, only claims. He then called Susan to the stand. Susan spoke in a trembling voice. "I love my daughter, but I fear for my grandson. She won't let us see him." Next he called Emma. Emma looked nervous as she sat on the stand. "I signed a statement but I misunderstood. I didn't know it was for custody." Mr. Graham cut her off quickly. "But you were concerned, correct?" Emma hesitated. "I was misled." Judge Ward leaned forward. "Did you read the document, Miss Evans?" Emma lowered her head. "Not fully." The judge made a note. Susan looked shaken. Frank looked confused. Juliet sat still, watching everything. She didn't need to rush. She had truth, documentation, and timing on her side. Michael stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to call Juliet Miller." Juliet took the stand, calm and steady. Michael asked, "Have you isolated your son from his grandparents?" Juliet answered clearly, "No. I reduced contact after discovering they placed a hidden camera inside a toy they sent Adam." The courtroom erupted in whispers. Mr. Graham shot up. "Objection." Judge Ward raised her hand. "Overruled. Continue." Juliet described the device, the red light, the internal camera, microphone, and the evidence bag she turned into police. She handed over photos, timestamps, and the forensic report. Michael continued, "Did you find any other devices?" Juliet nodded. "Yes. A GPS tracker hidden in Adam's backpack. Active for 3 weeks. She submitted photos and location logs." "Why do you believe they did this?" Juliet spoke softly but firmly. "To collect evidence against me and gain access to Adam's trust fund." Mr. Graham objected again. Judge Ward waved him off. "The motive is supported by recordings." Michael played the dinner audio. Frank's voice filled the room. "That trust fund could be used now." Susan added, "If Adam stayed with us, we could manage it." Silence followed. Judge Ward removed her glasses and stared directly at Frank and Susan. "Mr. and Mrs. Miller, do you wish to respond to this evidence?" Frank looked stunned, unable to speak. Susan's face had gone pale. Their lawyer scrambled. "Your Honor, my clients were only concerned, perhaps too concerned." Judge Ward cut him off sharply. "Placing surveillance devices on a child is not concern. It is a crime." The courtroom went silent. "Do your clients admit to installing these devices?" Mr. Graham swallowed hard. "Your Honor, they will not testify." Judge Ward nodded slowly, the final blow forming. Her voice was steady and cold. "Here is my ruling." Juliet held her breath. "The petition for custody is denied. The grandparents acted with deception, manipulation, and criminal intent." Susan started crying openly. Frank stared at the table. "I am issuing a restraining order effective immediately. You are forbidden from contacting Juliet or Adam in any form." Gasps echoed across the room. "Furthermore, this court refers all evidence to the district attorney for criminal charges." Emma covered her mouth in shock. Juliet exhaled slowly, not in celebration but in relief. The storm had finally broken. After the hearing, Juliet walked into the hallway with Michael. Frank and Susan stood nearby, both trembling. Susan took one step forward. "Juliet, please." Michael blocked her instantly. "Mrs. Miller, that violates the order." Susan froze. Her voice cracked. "We're your parents. We love Adam." Juliet met her eyes evenly. "You tried to take him from me. You tried to control his future. Love doesn't look like that." Frank clenched his fists. "That money was family money." Juliet shook her head. "It was never yours." Security approached, and Frank and Susan backed away quietly. Outside the courthouse, Detective Harper waited. "Juliet, the DA approved charges. Arrest warrants go out today." Juliet nodded, bracing herself. "What happens now?" Harper replied. "They'll be processed, questioned, and given bail. But this creates a permanent criminal record." Juliet stared at the city street. "I didn't want this," she whispered. Harper softened. "You protected your son. The law is just catching up." Juliet thanked her and walked toward her car. She didn't feel victorious or angry. She felt steady. Ready for whatever came next, because she had done what any mother would do. That evening Emma called again. "Juliet, will I still be allowed to see Adam?" Juliet sighed. "Yes. The judge reduced your time, but it's not permanent. Show up, take it seriously, and things can change." Emma's voice broke. "I'm sorry I believed them. I really am." Juliet closed her eyes. "Just be better moving forward." Emma whispered, "I will." Juliet hung up, feeling a small weight lift. At least one person in this mess was trying to repair the damage. Juliet hoped someday Emma would be the steady parent Adam deserved, even if she wasn't there yet. 2 hours later, Detective Harper called again. They're being arrested now. Juliet sat at her kitchen table. Where? Harper replied. At their home. They didn't resist. Susan cried the entire time. Juliet nodded slowly. After the call ended, she stood by the window, watching the quiet street outside. She didn't feel joy. She didn't feel revenge. She felt something deeper, finality. Chapter closing. Adam walked into the kitchen holding a drawing. Mom, look. I made this for you. Juliet knelt and hugged him. It's beautiful, she whispered. He had no idea what had just happened, and she wanted it that way. 2 months passed quietly. Adam laughed more, slept better, and asked fewer questions. Juliet returned to her routines, making breakfast, helping with homework, working her job, and taking Adam to soccer practice. Life felt simple again. One afternoon, she received an update from Michael. Your parents accepted a plea deal. Probation, fines, counseling, and their restraining order extended to 5 years. Juliet nodded. Good. Michael asked softly. Do you regret any of it? Juliet looked at Adam playing in the yard. No. They crossed a line. I just made sure they couldn't cross it twice. Spring arrived, and Juliet continued therapy sessions for Adam with Dr. Lee, a warm child psychologist. After one session, Dr. Lee smiled. He's healing well. He doesn't blame himself. He feels safe with you. Juliet felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you, Dr. Lee added. Children thrive when the adults around them protect them. You've done that better than most. Juliet breathed deeply. She had made hard choices that fractured her family, but they protected her son's heart. That mattered more than keeping peace with people who had forgotten what love truly meant. One Saturday morning, Juliet found the evidence box in the garage. The toy that had started everything sat inside, harmless now. Adam walked in. Mom, is that the toy Grandma sent? Juliet nodded. Can I have it back? She shook her head gently. No, buddy. It's broken inside. Not safe. Adam frowned. Should we throw it away? Juliet hesitated, then smiled softly. Yes. Let's throw it away together. They carried it outside and dropped it into the trash bin. Adam asked, Are you sad? Juliet answered honestly. No. I'm just remembering what we made it through. That evening, Juliet sat at the kitchen table while Adam played nearby with his blocks. She watched him build towers carefully, full of innocence and peace. Neighbors still whispered. Extended family still judged her. People asked whether she went too far. Juliet answered none of them. She didn't need approval. She only needed her son safe. Protecting Adam meant setting boundaries even when it hurt, even when it made her the villain in someone else's story. She looked at her son and smiled. In that moment, she knew she'd do it all again without hesitation. Because she wasn't just a mother, she was his shield.